God's chosen people were corrupt, they're violent, unjust to the poor. But Habakkuk was crying about all their suffering to God. So God responds to them.
Welcome back, everyone. We are looking back at this past week's Sunday readings and looking ahead to next Sunday's readings. We know that most people attending Mass don't look ahead to the readings they'll be hearing. So I hope you'll find our little show fun and useful, especially if you're looking to connect more to the Bible readings during Mass. My name is Vincent and my buddy's name is Roy. We've been friends since childhood and we both volunteer at different churches as lectors, or the guys who read at Mass. We'll offer our thoughts on the readings as well as share some fun stories about volunteering at church and everyday life. Okay, let's get started. All right, what's up with you this past week?
Well, I hope you prayed for your priests since it was Priesthood Sunday. We all extended our hands and we prayed and blessed our priest at the end of our Mass. And I was still getting over my sickness, but I gathered enough energy because I had to go to church. And then I went straight to the Niner game where we lost.
That was bad.
Yeah, it was so frustrating because it's like, I think we could have won. But with all of our sloppiness, we didn't deserve to win.
4 turnovers and still losing by less than 1 possession is not terrible, but still like, all right, 4 turnovers, you're not going to win this game.
Yeah. Oh, and it was also the first day of my wife's CCD class. She teaches first grade. So I always stay a little bit right after Mass because it's right after Mass to help a little bit.
That's cool. Yeah, and speaking of that, it was our second week of CCD. And my class looks pretty fun. I think we've kind of settled in. I think I have fewer troublemaker students this year. The last 2 years had an inordinately high number of those poorly behaved, sometimes rude troublemaker group of kids.
You know who you are.
I know, and you know here, if you're watching this, parents, this year seems like it's a manageable group. But the downside is that I don't have a teaching assistant assigned to me yet. I've never not had an assistant.
Oh.
And all my assistants in the past have been like nothing less than awesome. So I'm kind of scrambling to do the attendance and the administrative stuff like that. But parents, it is never too late to teach your kids good manners. You might think, oh, my kid's a little punk, with bad habits. They're in middle school. It's too late. It's never too late. Better late than never. Better a little bit than nothing at all. But I try to keep a straight ship in my class as much as I can. I try to have fun, but at the beginning of the year, I have to tell myself, okay, stop having fun with the kids or stop telling like the fun stories. They don't deserve it yet, right? Set the rules first, be really strict, give them a couple hard quizzes and force the homework draconianly. And then later on, then loosen up, then have the fun stories. All right, let's look ahead to this coming Sunday. The first reading is from the prophet Habakkuk, who cries out to God about the violence and misery all around him. And why doesn't God hear him and intervene? Then God answers with this. He says, "Wait for it, it will not be late. The rash one has no integrity, but the just one, because of his faith, shall live." So that's the first reading. The responsorial is, "If today you hear his voice, harden not your hearts." The second reading is from Timothy, and St. Paul reminds us that God did not give us a spirit of cowards. He gave us a spirit of power, love, and self-control to bear our hardships for the gospel. And finally, the gospel from Luke is where Jesus describes that having faith the size of a mustard seed, you could uproot a mulberry tree and plant it in the sea. It goes on more, but the gospel opens with that, Jesus talking about your faith, even if it was the size of a mustard seed, could do great things.
And the mustard seed is like one of the smallest seeds in comparison to the bush of the mustard plant.
All right, let's do the how would you read this? The first reading from Habakkuk.
In the last couple of weeks, we talked about Amos, who prophesies the Syrian conquest of the north, and Habakkuk prophesies the Babylon conquest in the south. God's chosen people were corrupt, they're violent, unjust to the poor, but Habakkuk was lamenting about all their suffering to God. And eventually, Persia, that conquers Babylon, and Persia's King Cyrus returns the exile to Jerusalem. So we know what's going to happen, but obviously they didn't. So we want to read Habakkuk as if he was like mad sad, like begging for help. And then you kind of switch it up. When God responds, you should be in a calming, reassuring tone, knowing the future, but in a way that still reassures Habakkuk. And he just has to be patient because it's going to take a while for it to manifest.
Yeah, he has to be patient, just have faith.
Yeah.
Side note, a few years back at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco, they actually had on display a lot of artifacts from ancient Persia, including the Cyrus cylinder. That's a clay cylinder with cuneiform writing on it, which is basically like his law, like the King Cyrus's laws that were written on this cylinder piece of clay. But it was really neat. And when I heard that the Cyrus cylinder was coming, like, oh, we gotta go. So I took the family. We saw that. That was pretty cool. I was pretty stoked to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and dive into the reading. Okay, so what do the notes say?
Okay, in the first note is before the why do you let me see ruin, you want to accentuate the word why. This question is a profound one of the human heart. In the next one, before the Lord answered, God's voice brings calm to the reading. So shift your tone in that direction. Remember, there's two. There's Habakkuk, and then there's the response. So obviously there's a different tone in each of them. For the vision still has its time, you want to read this with conscious patience. And then last, before the rash one has no integrity, you want to accentuate the final sentence. While waiting, the people are to live in faith and justice.
Okay, the first reading from Habakkuk. How long, O Lord? I cry for help, but you do not listen. I cry out to you, violence, but you do not intervene. Why do you let me see ruin? Why must I look at misery? Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and clamorous discord. Then the Lord answered me and said, write down the vision clearly upon the tablets, so that one can read it readily. For the vision still has its time, presses on to fulfillment, and will not disappoint. If it delays, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not be late. The rash one has no integrity, but the just one, because of his faith, shall live. The word of the Lord.
You know what it says, wait for it? It reminds me of How I Met Your Mother. Wait for it!
It will surely come. The second reading is from Timothy again, and what do the notes say for this?
This is the start of the second letter to Timothy. This is actually Paul's last letter ever. Basically, the letter encourages Timothy to be the leader who still has to deal with all the corrupt leaders in Ephesus. This should be read in a deep conviction and kind of in a way leaning towards like our evangelical brothers and sisters. I think emotion should be emoted. I know we don't want to go too far in a lot of these things, but in most of the readings, it's so flat. So the more emotion, probably the better. But it was actually literally a letter to Timothy, but you want to feel like it is to everybody in the congregation.
Yep.
In the workbook, it says to emphasize the word beloved, as today's reading is an encouragement to this beloved assembly with the strength that comes from God. It says to accentuate the word strength and God. This line highlights the source of our support. The last line where it says guard this rich trust, give this final sentence some deliberate weight. Okay, beloved, I remind you to stir into flame the gift of God that you have through the imposition of my hands. For God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather of power and love and self-control. Do not be ashamed of your testimony to our Lord, nor for me, a prisoner for his sake, but bear your share of hardship for the gospel with the strength that comes from God. Take as your norm the sound words that you heard from me in the faith and love that are in Jesus Christ. Guard this rich trust with the help of the Holy Spirit that dwells within us. The word of the Lord.
Okay, let's look back at this past Sunday. Any reflections from the Mass and the homilies?
So for the readings, I think the message was pretty straightforward. Just help the poor, especially those who have the means. The more you get, the more you should give. The implication of the second greatest commandment, to love others as yourself, is evident in this. Not our grievous sins that we have done, but the grievous sins we've failed to do. In the first, the rich didn't care to listen to the warnings of the collapse of Joseph's descendants. And in the parable, it didn't say that the rich man was doing anything bad, but his grievous sin is that he ignored Lazarus, which in Hebrew means God saves, by the way. So I think that's why his name was left in there.
I'm glad you brought that up because the meaning of names is so important.
Yeah. It could come down to the fact that you didn't love the least of his people.
That sin of omission that could easily get overlooked.
Jesus never said he did anything bad, which shows his abundance in wealth, which he could easily help Lazarus, who's like in front of his door every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. And he just completely ignored him. Yeah, I was thinking of like all those like last minute, it's never too late kind of thing, like the good thief, right? The guy on the cross. I mentioned in the last one, the tax collector.
Oh, Zacchaeus.
Zacchaeus.
Up and down the Bible and even throughout history with the saints, they weren't all like goody two-shoes from when they were kids. A lot of them had huge conversion stories. St. Paul, it was his job to kill Christians, and now you're like writing like half the New Testament, and then you get Zacchaeus. Like, who's this who's climbing the tree and all of a sudden like he wants to have Jesus in his home and Jesus forgives him? Like, yeah, if it's sincere. But here's the danger, I think, especially for us, I'll call us, for the most part, practicing Catholics, is that you don't want to take that for granted, though. You don't want to take God's mercy for granted. The gospel for this coming week, just because we do something or we do our job, so to speak, doesn't entitle us to a share in God's mercy. Like, hey, I did my job. I deserve this. Hey, I did this. I deserve to go to heaven. So we shouldn't take that for granted to say, like, I did my minimum. I did what I should have. And I did all these good things. Now, God, you're asking me to do more? Like, yeah, he's asking you to do more because it's not ours to earn or like, hey, I got enough points for heaven. We might befall that temptation to think that way and take that mercy for granted. This week's gospel kind of reminds us, like, hey, don't take anything for granted. I'm still God and you're still my children, or I'm still master, you're still servant. Kind of a harsh way to think about it, but that is the reality of it. Okay, how was it? I hope you got some positive takeaways from this. Leave your thoughts below in the comments, and don't just like and subscribe, but also click that share button and share this with your family and friends as well. Take care and God bless. All right, let's look back at this past Sunday. What happened?
Stupid K-pop diva hunter. What you said? Look back, take back. I play it on random. I usually just play it when Lala's in the car with me sometimes. So
liar, dude! You have to play that in the car when you're by yourself.